Welcome to today's edition of the War Room. This is going to be a relatively short show. I was supposed to start at noon, but I slept in, and I'm going to focus on coding the rest of my NHL and American Hockey League pages for the new season coming up in 2015-2016 today after I do this. So we're going to quickly watch some tape on Pavel Zacha of the Sarnia Sting. And I came out with my CHL player rankings. So I've adjusted some of the ratings to my NHL draft board. And there are certain guys that I think will end up becoming good players, and then there's other players that I could just see becoming busts. So I'm going to have to go back to those rankings and see what's going to happen, maybe adjust my board accordingly. So we'll see what happens. This is our big board, and we'll see. No, I'll show you the big board and what it looks like after today. I'll enter a grade for Pavel Zacha of the Sarnia Sting, and all right, so no, we want and Pavel Zacha is a good player to watch, so Pavel Zacha is going to go ahead of Timo Meier, or what to think of their tape. So number 14, the black jersey. That's the guy we're watching. So he wins a face-off here. And this is one of Pavel Zacha's best traits, is his ability to win the face-off. Now he's coming in here on the wing. So here we see some tape of him against the Kitchener Rangers. There he gets hit. He does a good job defending the puck. Like, he's good in that department. He's got some defensive awareness, but he does get beat up. He does have some durability issues. He has been penalized a lot. So I'm just trying to see. He's not even trying to get open. Kitchener Rangers have limited what Pavel Zacha can do early in this game. He doesn't have the puck yet. He's got good defensive awareness, but I see more of a defensive player than an offensive player. Now Zacha has the puck. He's thinking pass. He ends up shooting, I believe, here. Zacha, good defensive recognition there. Zacha, looking for a scoring chance. Pavel Zacha. And I haven't been promoting these videos as much as I should be promoting them. That's because I've been busy coding some other things, but I'm going to try to promote episodes 6, 7, and 8 of the War Room today. And get episodes 7 and 8 of the War Room up on draftutopia.com. So I mean, he's struggling to catch the puck here. So, I mean, I don't really see much of an offensive player. I mean, Zacha's been limited. He looks like he's going to be a bust, but I think he could be an early immediate impact player in the NHL as well. This guy has the defensive awareness to play right away, but he needs more experience in the OHL. This is his first OHL season, we might add. And again, defense and winning the faceoffs are the two things Zacha does well. He's not a playmaker, but he can get you faceoff wins, and that's something Dylan Strome struggled with, is winning faceoffs. That's something he did against Dylan Strome, is winning faceoffs is something Pavel Zacha specializes in. So if you want a guy that's going to win you faceoffs and play good defense at center and contain a line 2 or line 3 forward with his defensive moves by keeping them from scoring, or you want to plug him in on the wing to keep someone from scoring, this is a guy you bring in. And he's a good penalty killing winger as well, because he can play a man down. He can play good defense with a man down. So, I mean, this is a guy that he can win you faceoffs at center, which is why I'd keep him in there. And you can keep him. You can put him at left wing or center. But you're looking at a line 3 center or a line 2 left winger. But you're looking at a penalty killer. So Pavel Zacha has some pretty sloppy tape. He hasn't impressed at this point. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to grade him, but at the same time, I'm waiting. There's Jacob Chaicher in the 2016 NHL draft prospect, number 5. So you see Chaicher, and he's getting jammed here. And Zacha, he's in a bit of a hole as well. Pavel Zacha really doesn't do anything with it. He just gets beat here, and he's not a playmaker. He can win faceoffs. And there you see, I mean, there Zacha shows off his skating. I don't know how Kitchener got that goal, but he was not on the ice when that occurred, so in terms of physical tools and size and stamina and skating, and speed when skating, this guy is the complete package. But in terms of production, scoring goals, avoiding injuries, avoiding penalties, avoiding suspensions, he has questions in those areas of his game. And I'm not comfortable spending a top 10 pick on a guy that has those concerns. Let's go back and watch that goal. Someone did message me, and I'll check that in a second. So Kitchener scored again. So Zacha scored there. So Zacha, if he's open and there's no one there, he can deliver a good wrist shot. Because, I mean, if it's one-on-one, him and the goalie, he has the awareness to win that matchup. But there was some inconsistency with his wrist shot accuracy, but he definitely has the wrist shot power that you look for. He lacks a slap shot as well, so there are a lot of intangibles this guy has lacked when you watch his tape, and you send him back to the juniors, he can correct some of that. Zacha's on the wing on this line. And I know Zacha's one of those players. He can play anywhere on the lines. Yeah, and Zacha, Lawson Krause just stands there sometimes as well. He'll just stand there. I don't know if Zacha's fatigued or what is he trying to do, but the fact that he'll just sit there all sluggishly, he's not fighting for the puck or he's not trying to contain his zone. I'm not sure what his strategy or his mindset is at the time, but again, this is a guy that I think he's probably still a project. There definitely is some upside there, but at the same time, it's like, you know, Zacha is one of these guys that he could be a Stamkos type player, but at the same time, I think his max rating's got to be something like 88. I don't think he's a 98 like Stamkos. I think you're looking at a good line 2 center or a line 2 left winger or a line 3 center. And I think Pavel Zacha, he would be a perfect fit for a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins as a developmental player that could eventually be a third-line center behind Malkin and Crosby. But they don't have a first-round pick this year. And I'm trying to think of some teams that could use a guy like him. I mean, the Colorado Avalanche, if they really wanted a guy behind Gabriel Landis, behind Matt Duchene and Nate McKinnon, this is a guy they could potentially target and take a flyer on at number 10. So we'll go back in, we'll edit that, and there are some other things we're probably going to edit as well. Yeah, I mean, on Friday, we're probably going to try to wrap up all the first-round prospects on our draft board at noon because I want to try to get – I still haven't even started my 6th-round NHL mock draft that I'm supposed to have up on Friday. And I do need to start that. But I don't know if I'm going to be making any changes in the first 5 rounds. Well, I'm going to be making changes in the back end of the first round. I'll go that far. I'll say that much. But I don't know if I'm going to be making any changes in the top half. I might give the Avalanche Zach Werenski since he's the top player on my board, and they've scouted a multitude of guys. They've scouted Pavel Zacha, Provorov. They've scouted Zach Werenski. They've scouted Timo Meier. So they've scouted a multitude of guys, and it's really going to come down to who the best player on their board is when all is said and done. Because if Pavel Zacha's there at 10, and he's the guy I've been hearing the Avalanche might target, I mean, he might be the pick then. Because Matt Duchene had 15 fewer points than last season, and Nate McKinnon had 25 fewer points than last season, as pointed out by Taz Jones, my writer at Draft Utopia, my hockey writer, who when he did our NHL power rankings, he pointed out that Matt Duchene had 15 fewer points this season than he did when the Avs made the playoffs, and that Nate McKinnon had 25 fewer points. So you bring in a guy that can be a line 3 center behind those guys and could possibly play the wing when Alex Tanguay retires, and Pavel Zacha fits that mold or fits that kind of role. That I don't know if he got the game-winning goal here, but Jacob Chichern, 2016 first-round pick, he struggles to make that read. So Chichern's a talented skater, but at the same time, he struggles with offensive awareness at times. He needs to learn how to improve his awareness and pick apart the play. So this guy looks pretty decent. he's not an elite skater, but there's definitely enough upside there for him to develop into something. So, yeah, I've got my sweater back on. I took care of some business. It was kind of hot in my room, so yeah. Pavel Zacha. We'll give him a 68 out of 88. Timo Meyer, I don't know. I don't know if he's. You can make a case for Daniel Sprong going ahead of him. I have a very unorthodox way of grading players on tape based off of what I see. Ivan Provorov is from Russia, so I could have Werenski go. And that's the thing. I am going to move Werenski up to my number 2 defenseman on my draft board because there were teams in the top 5 looking at Zach Werenski instead of Ivan Provorov. And that really tells me something, that if a lot of these teams are that certain on Zach Werenski and they believe he's more ready for the NHL, I mean, Ivan Provorov does have the most upside of the defenseman, but at the same time, he's going to take the longest to develop. Zach Werenski probably is good enough to come in on an AHL team or a third line in the NHL right away. You develop him over a few years, and eventually he could be a line 1 defenseman, just he could be a number 2 defenseman on a top line. And Ivan Provorov could be a number 1 defenseman on a first line, but you have to be patient with him. You have to develop him, and you have to get the best out of him. Ryan Pylon's good enough to anchor a second line or be a number 4 defenseman. But again, it's going to take time with Ryan Pylon. So I know Kerr messaged me something, but I'll check that in a bit. So here's our draft board. I've adjusted the rating, and I've added Pavel Zacha's rating, and the rating on the left is a minimum rating. For example, Connor McDavid has a 90 out of 99. Jack Eichel has an 89 out of 99. His maximum rating could be 99. He could be a all-pro type player for years. But at the same time, he has a minimum rating of 89. Now, Noah Hannafin has a minimum rating of 83 and a maximum rating of 83. Now, the reason I think that is I think Noah Hannafin is the only NHL-ready defenseman to come up right away. But at the same time, I don't think he has the upside to develop into a Drew Doughty or a Victor Hedman type defenseman. I don't see Noah Hannafin becoming that type of player. I think he'll be a solid line 2 defenseman, but that's it. That's all he'll be. That's all he'll become. He won't blossom into anything special like Adam Larson or Hedman or any of these guys. I don't see Hannafin becoming that type of player, but I think he'll be an incredible asset as a premium number 4, number 3 defenseman on an NHL blue line, on the second line, that is. Dylan Strome. And the only reason Noah Hannafin would be considered a bust is I think a player has to have a potential rating of 85 out of 99 or higher in order to not be a bust. And if you're drafted in the top 3 overall, you have to have a potential rating of at least 90 or higher. And Hannafin at 83, sure, he is capable of making an immediate impact, but without upside, he's considered a bust. Dylan Strome, 72 out of 97. I thought, well, he's got all the tools to be a line 1 stud like McDavid, but at the same time, there is a lot of things you have to look at when developing his game, and I think that's really another thing that's key. Matthew Barzal, the Seattle Thunderbirds, and I think Matthew Barzal is capable of coming up to the NHL right away. He won't have the upside of a Dylan Strome or a Jack Eichel or a Connor McDavid, but at the same time, I think he's got enough talent to make an immediate impact, and I could see him on an NHL roster before Dylan Strome. I think Matthew Barzal is more likely to make an immediate impact on a first line, is more ready for the NHL than Dylan Strome, and I don't know why, but my gut just tells me that Barzal is a franchise center and that Dylan Strome might need another year in the juniors without Connor McDavid, because he struggled to win some faceoffs and he did some things that looked very correctable. Mitch Marner, London Knights. I gave him a 70 out of 95 because he struggled to catch some passes with his stick on tape, and there were some other things I didn't like. Mikko Rantanen got an 80 out of 90 because he had amazing tape, but he has a 2-year contract with SM Liga that runs through 2016, 2017, meaning he won't be on an NHL roster until at least 2017. But by then, he'll be a stud, and he'll be a good line 1 right winger on an NHL roster. So the team that's drafting Mikko Rantanen isn't getting a player for another 2 years because of his contract, but by the time he's done with his contract, he should be a line 1 skater at right wing. So if you need a line 1 right winger, that's a guy to make an upgrade with. Zach Werenski, Michigan. He's a freshman on the Michigan Wolverines, and he has enough upside to develop into a line 1 defenseman. I think he'll be a number 2 defenseman on the first line, but I still think he's a very talented premium player. You look at Timo Meier. I mean, Noah Hannafin can anchor a third line, but you can also put him on a second line as well. But either way, I think he'll make the NHL. Mikko Rantanen, I already mentioned him. Timo Meier, 70 out of 90. I think he is a project, but at the same time, he's got the upside to develop into an all-star player. But he's going to be a 2-year project, and he's going to have to remain with Halifax. Lawson Krause. He is a 77 minimum rating and a 77 maximum rating, and that's why I think he's a bust. And the reason I gave him that rating is because he struggles on the ice. Sometimes he just sits there like a duck. He's a great defensive player, but he's a left winger that plays defense. You don't see much offense with his game. And I know he got off to a hot start for the Frontenacs, and he showed a lot of promise early, but he struggled down the stretch. He lacks consistency with his game, and I think without Sam Bennett there, we really saw Krause had an opportunity to separate himself from the pack. And I don't think he sees that opportunity, which is why he's number 10 on my board. I think he'll be one of the guys that may end up on an NHL roster right away as a rookie, but he'll end up getting recalled to Kingston. Like, he'll play a few games on in the NHL, but he'll end up getting sent back to Kingston. Ivan Provorov, 69 on 95. Now, this guy, he got injured his first year, but he does a good job at generating points, and he does have that upside to be a number 1 defenseman on a line 1, the team's top defenseman. There's that upside with him, but he needs to keep developing at Brandon, and he may need a year or 2 in the AHL after finishing his time in the juniors. Pavel Zacha. And this is a guy that he can finish his career in the juniors, and then you can bring him in for an NHL tryout. And if he doesn't make the tryout, you can send him to the AHL. But he needs to stay in there, maximize as much of his potential in the next 2 years, because with Pavel Zacha, you're getting a line 2 center and a line 2 player, a line 2 forward. That's his long-term upside. But right now, he's got the upside of a Right now he's raw. He needs another season, and after that he'll probably be a line 3 or a line 4 forward on an AHL team. Because I think with the 68 rating, that's probably, and the same could be said about Daniel Sprong. Kyle Connor is going to Michigan, which is why he's at 14 on our board for now, but that's probably going to change. And the guys that are considered busts, I'm proud of a few of these guys because I already did my Canada rankings, and I'm ranking players based on what I saw from them because I've seen a few guys off tape. Jansen Harkins, I think he's a 3-year project. He's going to need 2 seasons in the juniors and at least 1 season in the AHL before he becomes that guy. And he's really going to have to cultivate his game. And he's going to be a project player, but I think there is some upside. You could be getting a line 2 center in the NHL when all is said and done. And he might end up, he could be a sniper too. So Travis Konechny. Now, Konechny's going to need 2 years in the juniors and 2 years in the AHL, but there is upside to develop him into a line 1 center. And you need to keep this guy in the juniors as long as possible because he's raw right now. I mean, sure, he's a captain. He's incredibly talented. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be ready. I think he has the upside to be an elite center like Eichel or McDavid. But at the same time, he's a project, which is why he's ranked so low on other boards. And some boards have him at 12, others have him at 24. And sure, he has the upside of an Eichel or a McDavid or a Dylan Strome, but he doesn't have that immediate impact ability that Eichel, McDavid, Strome, or even Matthew Barzal provides, which has to alarm you to an extent. The next player, Jeremy Roy, 65 out of 95. Now, this is a guy that's talented enough. He needs to stay in the juniors for another year, and then you can bring him in for a tryout, see what you want to do with him. Thomas Chabot, another year in the juniors is needed. He might need 2 years in the juniors, and then you can determine whether you want to bring him to the NHL or the AHL, but he has to play until he's at least 20. Nick Merkley, I think Nick Merkley is talented enough, but at the same time, I don't know if he's a guy that has that long-term upside of a line 1 center. I just don't know. I mean, he was very talented this season, and he outplayed Leon Draisaitl. But at the same time, there's just something that tells me he's a line 3 center at best in the NHL. I don't know if it's the lack of size or what it is, but there's something there. I don't feel like he's going to be an elite center like some of these other guys. But at the same time, he's far more ready for the NHL than Jansen Harkins or Travis Konechny. He might not have the long-term upside those guys have, but he's more prepared to play in the NHL at this point than either one of those guys. And I think he'll make the NHL quicker than a guy like Harkins or Konechny, but he might not have the upside those players have. Ryan Pailon of the Brandon Wheat Kings. I mean, this is a guy that he's going to be at least a 2-year project, and he might need a season in the AHL. But if you give him that security blanket, that window of opportunity, he shall deliver. Jake DeBrusk, he's going to be an AHL player at best, and I hate to say it, but DeBrusk looks like a line 1 AHL center. A line 1 left winger on an AHL team. Now, if that's what you want, if you want to get a left winger for your AHL team that can help you win a Calder Cup, this is a guy to draft. But I don't think drafting those types of players in the first round is smart. So I'm probably going to try my best to watch the rest of the first-round players. And the players I'm specifically going to be focused on are the USHL guys because we're going to start doing some scouting reports on some of these USHL players. And then I do have some – I have some second-round players on my Canada prospect rankings, but I haven't watched tape of those guys to the point where I can give them a rating and say, well, are they good enough to move up into the first round? And if they are good enough, guess what? A guy like Jake DeBrusk, boop, he exits our first round of the big board. Another guy comes in, and then we have to readjust our Canada player rankings and the other draft rankings and stuff. So that's something to take into account here. And with the Colorado Avalanche, I'm thinking they'll probably lean towards it's hard to say if they'd go Pavel Zacha or Timo Meier. I'm going to keep Meier on the Avalanche because I think he's more NHL ready. But at the same time, I could see them going with a guy like Pavel Zacha simply because he won the faceoff and he showed some very good aspects to being a complete player. So there was a lot I liked and a lot I disliked. So that does it for this video, and we'll see you guys tomorrow where we'll watch another round of NBA players. I think we're probably going to look at the shooting guards or the forwards. I'm not sure what position we're going to go after yet, but I'm probably going to look through my NBA mock draft and figure out what, because I know I made an error in one of my NBA mock drafts. I said Enes Kanter was on the Jazz and he got traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in a trade. So I need to go back into my mock, edit that, correct that, and figure out who I had going number 6 after Porzingis. I think I had Bobby Portis out of Arkansas going 6th. So we'll go back in, we'll correct that, we'll do some adjustments, and we'll take it from there. All right, guys, this is Chris Ransom, and I'm leaving the War Room. I hope you enjoyed our draft board.